The Brendan Sorsby saga continues. Well, I mean, yeah, now we know what's going to happen.
Yes.
So Brendan Sorsby officially out at Texas Tech. I don't know if he's officially filed the paperwork yet to be in the supplemental draft, but he is going to do that according to multiple reports. There wasn't even going to be a supplemental draft because I don't think anybody else was going to be in it. Now there will be a supplemental draft. We do not know when it will be, but here are some of the details. I didn't realize this. We just found this out yesterday. So there's 3 tiers in terms of how they make the draft order for the supplemental draft. I thought it was just the same as the regular draft, but it's not.
I did too. Hand up. Yeah. I learned something new yesterday with this.
So here's how it goes. The Tier 1 teams are teams with 6 or fewer wins last season. Obviously, the Browns are one of those teams. I believe there's 10.
There's 10 of these teams, correct.
So those 10 teams will go in a lottery. And, Mike, do we know, is the lottery the same for each round, or is there a new lottery for each round? I don't even know about that.
I actually don't know the answer to that.
Okay, so we don't know. But there'll be a lottery for the first 10 picks in the supplemental draft. So the Browns could have the first pick. They could have the 10th pick. Then picks 11 through 27 will be all the other teams. Is it 27? Yeah. Will be all the other teams that didn't make the playoffs in a lottery. And then finally picks 11 to 17. And finally picks 18 to 32 will be the 14 playoff teams. So the Browns will have a lottery ticket in the first group and the third group because the Rams are in that third group, the group that made the playoffs, at least in the first round. Then in the second round, obviously, they'll just have their own and so on and so forth. So it's a random order. Within each tier. There you go. Teams place a bid on a player. The highest bid gets the player right. So, for example, if the Browns end up with the third pick in the second round and the Cardinals end up with the 6th pick in the second round, and the Cardinals and Browns are the only 2 teams that put in a second-round bid, then Sorsby will end up on the Browns. So the question now becomes, now that we actually you know what, before we give our opinions on what the Browns should do and whether and how high a pick they should use if they're going to use a pick, first let's see a quote of what both Todd Monken, Browns head coach, and Andrew Berry, Browns GM, had to say about the situation.
And Berry's been asked about this twice.
Yeah. Now remember, these were all responses before we knew for sure he was going to be in the supplemental draft.
Correct.
Yeah,
so this was at the golf outing.
Yes.
Right before the Myles Garrett trade was announced.
This is like a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever
This is what Todd Monken had to say when asked about Brendan Sorsby. Monken said, quote, "I don't think we're in a position to want to go down that road. That's my opinion. That's not Andrew's. I like the quarterbacks we have. I think that's a slippery slope when you go down that, irrespective of talent, right? In terms of the situation he's in, we all know what that is. He put himself in that situation, and we've seen in other sports with players that have been banned for life from playing in professional sports. I think that's a slippery slope to go down that road. Again, that's a question for Andrew and for management, but from my end of it, kind of tough angle to go down that road and think that's going to be your franchise quarterback if he's ever eligible to even play in the NFL."
Yeah.
That's what Todd Monken said. At the press conference announcing the Myles Garrett trade, Andrew Berry was asked about Brendan Sorsby. This was his answer at the press conference. Berry said, quote, "No different than we do every year. We'll do the work on all the prospects, and then we'll make the appropriate decision for the organization." On Friday, Andrew Berry was on 92.3 The Fan with Andrew Lima and
Anthony
Lima, excuse me.
But I like Andrew Lima.
Daryl
That's
Reiter.
his cousin.
And this is what he said when Lima and Daryl asked him about Brendan Sorsby. Quote, "There's 2 questions I ask because we're all human. Is this a bad person or did they make a bad decision? What are they doing after the fact to correct the behavior? I think probably within society, so to speak, I think we could all stand to use a little bit more grace."
Ain't that the truth?
So that's Monken and Andrew Berry
Yeah.
on the Brendan Sorsby situation. So what do you guys say? Do you think the Browns will place a bid? Should they place a bid? And how do you see this all unfolding over the next couple of weeks here for the Cleveland Browns in their search for a franchise quarterback?
Go ahead, G. Bush. Start us off.
I mean, how you know I was gonna go first? I go first. How you know when I start the
Seemed
party?
anxious to talk.
I was, stretching, man. I was a little sleepy. Here's first of all, Andrew Berry. That's general manager, president. Conversation talk. Like that move. So I'm gonna decode this for you. That move was to set this up. So Andrew Berry and general managers have sliding scales of what they are willing to do and what they're willing not to do based on talent. So if you come to me and ask me about a player who's been in trouble, but I don't necessarily think that I'm going to go after him, I can't come out and be so definitive as if I'm going to eliminate all players who have bad things off their list, because when you do that, what happens? People are going to say, well, why are you going to take this guy and you took you took this other guy who did X, Y, and Z? Mm-hmm. So he has to say, okay, well, listen, we'll do our due diligence. We'll check it out. We'll make a decision. But he also wants to come off as a person that is going to take these things seriously and look at it and say, okay, because somewhere down the line, he may go after a person with some character issues, or he may decide.
Down the line, look back up the line. They do it all the time.
That's another good one. There's a lot, Isaiah Bond. You got Quinshon Judkins. You got
Perrion
Winfrey.
Mike Hall.
Mike Hall.
Deshaun.
Yep, Deshaun.
Kareem Hunt.
So, there it is. Keep going. We got about 10 dudes.
That was Dorsey, but
so it's about 10 dudes. So at the end of the day, we forgot about Josh Gordon. Well, he didn't do it, but Josh Gordon. But so he can't come out like he's the moral captain, because obviously he got people that had some issues and allegations as well. The second thing is that's what Andrew Berry's doing. I think Todd Monken came out, and that was pretty definitive. He's a head football coach. He probably old enough to remember Pete Rose passing away without being in the Hall of Fame. He's probably old enough to remember some of these things, and he talks about being banned for life, and that is a very slippery slope. For me, I couldn't even if you ask me G. Bush, I think this is wild. Like, the reason why Sorsby is even being available in the supplemental draft is because the Big 12 and all the schools was suing in court to say, listen, nah, we're not doing this. All of them, the Big 12, the whole conference. Then on top of it, they also said, we are thinking about never playing you in other sports if you play him, right? So the NCAA have spoken volumes about that, right? And I'm old enough to remember where Terrell Pryor went in a supplemental draft and still got 5 games for trading tattoos. Mm-hmm. What does that look like for a person who admitted to gambling on his own team? I don't even know if he's going to be eligible to play. He might be on the commissioner's list. And then the third thing at this, I think sometimes we hear quarterback. I just frankly don't think he's that good. I don't think he's a blue chip bone. Now, let me just tell you this, and I ain't going to be a hypocrite. Let Arch Manning do some gambling, right? Mm-hmm. Let him do some. Oh, he's in the draft. And everybody putting a pick up. That's what's going to happen. But the sliding scale is this. If you're good like that, you're the tippy top, people will look around and be like, okay, let me figure this out. But if you are, I ain't going to say he's mid. I think he has some good traits. But I just wouldn't go down this road. I can't even really believe that we're here, because seeing that Clase and Ortiz are banned, like right now, federal indictments. I don't see it. I don't know why we're doing that.
Jason,
I want no part of this. None. There's no upside to this whatsoever. How can you, for a franchise that has been looking for a quarterback for 30 years, how can you go down this path and think it's going to turn out well? And you said it, G, at the end. Just look up the street. Go a mile up the road, knock on the door at the Guardian's executive offices on the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. Ask them how last year went with Clase and with Luis Ortiz. The best run team in town over the last 30 years. It's not even close. Cavs have had a great run. They won a championship. The Guardians have been the model franchise in town for 30 years, and they were absolutely rocked by everything that went on last year. The Browns cannot sustain anything like that. And that's not to say that Brendan Sorsby is going to walk into his next team and start gambling again. But there's a track record there. You can't be ignorant to what has already taken place. So I think it's a horrible mix of trying to bring him here and think he's the answer. Listen, I don't think the answer's here now. I've been pretty evident about that. But at some point, you have to stop taking these chances on these guys. It's the most important position. When are you going to stop going with the Instagram models and the reality TV stars and the Johnny Manziels and the Baker Mayfields treat the position like the other 31 teams treat it. The way you win in the NFL is with the top 10 quarterback. They don't all work, but that's the most proven path to success, is finding a quarterback at the top of the draft. But Browns fans are obsessed with this. Well, if we can find one in the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 5th round or the 6th round, then you can use the top pick on
Baker in the 1st round.
Yeah, they did, and he was a decent NFL quarterback. Yeah. Was he the answer? No. But he's better than what they got now. Doesn't mean I want him back. I don't. But he was still better. The top 10 is the best path to find a franchise quarterback. That's where the odds say that they are. That's where most teams find them. It's just here in this city where everyone tries to build the ship backwards, where everyone tries to do this backwards. It doesn't work. They've been trying it for 30 years. How many more mid-round quarterbacks? They've tried Colt McCoy. They've tried Charlie Fry, Brady Quinn and Brandon Weeden at the bottom of the 1st round. They tried holding one at gunpoint and dragging him here and adding zeros to the check. Who didn't want to be here, and they said, all right, well, you're going to give me all that money, I'll go. Like, you just have to take your medicine this year. You're not going to be a very good team. You're going to have a top 10 pick. Take your quarterback next year. I know people don't want to hear that, but I want no part of Brendan Sorsby. I think it's a recipe for disaster. This has been the most dysfunctional team in the NFL for the last 30 years. And you want to invite that into your building? How do you think it's going to end?
So, this is a subject that I've struggled with. I've gone back and forth on this, on my feelings on this, a number of times. I don't know how good Brendan Sorsby is. You said you think he's a little better than mid.
I think he
I
has
haven't
some
seen him play enough.
He has some good traits,
Yeah.
but he has to get better.
I was reading.
You guys know Ryan Wilson, real quick, the CBS draft analyst?
Yeah.
Who's been on the show. I just
Yeah.
texted him. I'm going to try to get him on again because he tweeted out if he took the names off the back of the jersey, he's a better prospect than Arch Manning.
Interesting.
He
Okay,
said-
that's
he
one
said that was
opinion.
Ken
Now,
Lyman this morning.
I read a number. I wanted to read a lot about it because I was like, I haven't seen him play. Let me see what people, because that factors in here for me. And the consensus seems to be that he would have been the 2nd quarterback taken this past year, which means he might have been top 10 this year. And that in the early mock drafts for next year, which is not worth much because it's so early and these things obviously change. But just to throw it out there, I think the general consensus is he would have been the 3rd quarterback in the 27 draft as of now. Whatever that means, not much, but I just wanted to throw it out there. There's so many things about this that are screaming at me, no, no, no. You guys have mentioned them all. I get it. First of all, there's no way I even consider drafting him unless I've done as deep a dive as I could humanly possibly do as Andrew Berry. I need to speak to him multiple times. I need to speak to people around him. I need to hire an FBI. I need to do as much due diligence as I can find. The only way I would even consider making a pick for him is if I felt as comfortable as possible. Nobody can feel 100% comfortable. I am a compulsive gambler. Some would argue that I still gamble because I play fantasy baseball and fantasy football. We could quibble on that, but besides that, I haven't bet on a sporting event or I haven't played poker or done any of that stuff in 16 years. But I am still a compulsive gambler. I know that if I went to the casino now, I could not control. If I started betting, if I took $100 and went to bet at the casino, I might lose $2,000, $5,000. I have more money than I've ever had now. I lose more than that because I have no control, and that's why I don't do it, right? So nothing's a sure thing. And yes, he did bet on his own team. Huge red flag. And so unless, after talking with him, people around him, doing my due diligence, unless I was as confident as I could possibly be that he is truly in recovery, he truly wants to change. If I had any doubts at all, I would not even consider it. Okay? And I don't know if that's possible. But if I were Andrew Berry and I felt confident, first of all, let's be honest. I'm not saying guys have bet on their teams, but you know there's tons of guys in the NFL that have bet on sporting events. Not on their own team necessarily, But I'm sure there's many compulsive gamblers in the NFL
Sure.
and every other sport. So let's not pretend that's. I'm
Right.
sure there's plenty of alcoholics, plenty of drug addicts. A lot of it. It's just reality of not sports, but the society in large. If, and this is another big if Andrew Berry believes that this guy is a first-round talent, then I would consider, if I were him, putting in a claim. I would not put in a first-round claim. That is, it's just the risk just outweighs the potential reward. But after that, if I'm Andrew Berry, and again, these are two huge ifs. If I am confident that he is heading in the right direction and that he's honestly trying to actively work on his addiction and it's not just talk to get drafted, and if I truly believed he was a first-round talent, both of those things, then I would put in a claim as high as a second-round claim for him. Because I'm with Jason, even though I believe in Shedeur Sanders a little more than you do. I still am under 50% on him, and so and I have zero faith in Deshaun Watson. So I would put in a claim. Those are two big ifs. I'm not sure if I was Andrew Berry I could get there on both those things, but if I did, then I would do it.
I'm trying to ask myself and figure out where in society what changed. Pete Rose is one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Yeah.
He was banned, and he was great. So my thing is, he was the top of the creme de la creme.
But we'll know if he's not going to. There are examples of players that have bet in college.
Yes.
And they haven't been suspended for life.
So
even if he gets suspended, he's not. Even if they did take him, he's not going to play this year.
So that's.
So even if he got suspended for all this year,
that's the point.
You're
taking draft capital and using it on a person who you're not sure about, which then precludes you from going to get another prospect next year.
If you're right, if you're right, and you very well may be.
Yeah.
Think about what you just said. He's not going to play next year.
Right.
What the hell are you doing? Why are you taking a quarterback who's not going to play? Because now you're not going to be any good.
Right.
And now you're going to be going to the 27 draft talking about quarterbacks. Oh, but by the way, you got this guy who sat all the entire year.
If you think he's good and you get him in practice, and
you will know.
I would have put a second-round pick. I've said since the first day, round 3 is as high as I would go, and I think the talent is there that you take the flyer on. If it gets suspended a year, you at least get him in practice, and you can see the makeup and all that stuff. And if it pans out, then you use those picks next year on Jeremiah Smith and something else.
I think this is
Jason. Why would it stop you?
If you're right.
And by the way, if let's say you do stink, and you get the first pick or the second pick, and there's a quarterback you can't pass up on, okay, fine, take him. So the Browns have wasted hundreds of picks over
They wasted
the
a
years.
third on Dylan Gabriel last year.
They wasted a third exactly on Dylan Gabriel.
What's the difference here?
Who we know can't play.
The difference here is, and you're right. There's addicts all over sports, but if they fall back into their addiction, it's not a lifetime ban and a prison sentence. That's what Emmanuel Clase is looking at 65 years.
That's crazy.
He's not going to serve 65 years.
Well,
but that's what he's looking at.
You're saying if he bets on his team again.
If he falls into this, every incompletion.
That's the whole thing.
Every interception.
I hear you.
Why do you want that cloud over your franchise?
I'm not sure I do, but I think
it's not worth it.
I think as a team, you got to be open-minded. To
every time, if he throws a pick six, you're going to be looking at each other like this.
This is
so you wouldn't take Clase back if you could get him?
No. Absolutely not.
I think a lot of fans would.
I want nothing to do with
I wouldn't, but I think a lot of fans would.
Every single time. You heard your coach say right there. Todd Monken's like, well, that's what they want to do. If I'm a coach, I already got a firestorm with Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
I already got a firestorm with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I already got a experimental quarterback in Taylor Green and another guy I reached on in Dylan Gabriel that didn't work out. So you're going to tell me I got to take a guy that knowingly bet on his team, and I know that every single college team said that they was going to go to court to drag this out. That's how serious they took it. So they took it that serious where they said, I'm going to file an injunction. But you just say, okay, well, let's just take them and use draft capital?
I don't think I didn't come up with my answer, and I don't think the Browns will willy-nilly. I mean, it's obviously Nobody's taking it lightly.
Well,
what he did.
What I was like, Todd Monken was so strong on it that like Barry said what all GMs
I mean,
say.
but if you were interested, would you tell people? Well, it doesn't benefit you.
All you have to say is, I like our quarterback room, which he said.
Yeah.
But then he went way beyond that
Right,
to
he
where
did.
he said so much. Honestly, if they took him, how could they work together?
You get over it.
I don't know, man. That was strong.
I mean,
Monken was really strong.
He said, I don't know if you can have a guy like that as your franchise quarterback.
Like
said
he
it's a
really
slippery
went.
slope.
Yeah, he
And-
went way past what he needed to say. All you have to say, if you're Todd Monken, I'm happy with the quarterback room that we have. That's it. That's all you have to say. End of answer.
Yeah, fair. That's true.
Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna say this. I hope the young man gets an opportunity.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you, G.
I hope.
Let someone else take the chance on him. You
But-
don't have to have every misfit toy off the island.
I don't disagree that the Browns. If the Browns were a different franchise, I'd feel better about it. Certainly.
I agree.
but
with some infrastructure.
Let someone else take that chance.
If you're a good team with an older quarterback, it could make sense.
yeah.
And
If you're the Colts, if you're not sold on
Again,
Daniel Jones,
if the Browns do it, I'm not. I'm gonna say okay.
I think
I don't think it's the end of the world.
I think it's a complete disaster waiting to happen. You have the most dysfunctional team over the last 30 years taking on that type
You're
of
right.
project.
I can't argue that.
There is no way that I can find any sort of path to where that ends well.
I just heard from Deshaun Watson for 2 years. Can you imagine? Like if you got these storylines like that, can you imagine what the first questions are going to be when you put all these guys in this conglomerate? And look, I'm a player's guy. I'm a second chance dude. But just because I don't think it's a good fit for this organization at this time does not mean I don't believe that some organization with a better infrastructure and don't have the same level of restrictions should go out and give them an opportunity. I feel the opportunities are there.
Until you have an answer at the most important position in sports, you have to consider all options.
I almost always agree with that statement. Not in this instance.